Good morning, Amani. Looks like we're going online, you guys. I'm hitting the button right now. Hold on, let me make sure I'm ready. We're live. Good morning, everyone. It is March 24th, 2023. This is a Charles County delegation meeting, the last Charles County delegation meeting. This is I am Chair Delegate Deborah Davis. Welcome, everyone. I'm excited to be at this point in the session. We've done a lot of hard work. I'm excited about what we've accomplished and how we've worked together. So I'm really excited about that. But without further ado, I want to introduce our guest today. She is the communications director from the American Red Cross, Ashley Henyon, and she has to leave soon. So we're going to change the agenda just a bit so that she can go first. Ashley, take it away.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having the Red Cross on today. That kind of change of pace and last minute adjustment is a wonderful segue into the American Red Cross, because we are constantly adapting to what people need. Here in Charles County, across the DMV area, we're working to alleviate human suffering in the face of emergencies. And the Red Cross proudly does that through the support of our generous financial donors, corporate donors, individual donors, people who are giving 5 and 6 figures regularly, and people who are giving $10 every month. And then, of course, we also do that work only because of our dedicated, compassionate volunteers. Actually, 90% of all Red Cross work across the board, even on my communications team, believe it or not, fundraising teams, administration teams, operation teams, and then the work that you see being done out in the field with blood drives and disaster, 90% of work that the Red Cross does is performed by volunteers, people who give their time, their service, their talent, their energy to help complete strangers during their greatest time of need. And that's what makes me proud to work at the Red Cross, and happy to be here to share some information with you all today about the work that we do, and specifically how we're helping in Charles County, Maryland. So with that, I'm going to give you a little bit of a rundown of our programs and services, some important takeaways to remember for your constituents to get some help if they need to host a blood drive if they want to. And then I will open it up for a few questions if you have anything you'd like to ask me. As mentioned before, I am the communications director for the region, so probably more comfortable answering questions than presenting. Okay, so with that, the Red Cross, we basically work in the local area through regions. There's about 50 regions across the country. Charles County falls into the National Capital and Greater Chesapeake region, which is then split into 6 local chapters. And so we have 6 chapters in our region. One of them is the Southern Maryland chapter of the American Red Cross. And that's our chapter team that works in Charles County, Maryland. And what are we doing there, right? We are, again, working to alleviate suffering through that power of volunteers and the generosity of the American public, the donors that allow us to do our life-saving Red Cross work and perform those life-saving service delivery activities in Charles County. One thing that people think of when they think of the Red Cross is our work collecting blood, collecting life-saving blood. So we do have a large presence in the biomed blood collections industry, if you will, across the country. We are collecting 40% of the nation's blood at the American Red Cross. We're not the only blood collector in the country. We do, because we are a national network, we have the ability to collect blood in 40% of the country, meet local needs first with where the need is needed most for different blood types. And then because we are that national network, we can move blood around and help out our neighbors in need if we need to. One of the big programs that we're proud to have started about 2 or 3 years ago is called our Sickle Cell Initiative with the Biomed Services team. And what that is it's a big awareness campaign and action on the ground to really work on collecting blood to meet the needs of sickle cell patients in local communities. Sickle cell patients receive blood transfusions often, very regularly. And when that happens, having just that A, B, O positive, A negative blood match is not good enough. Because when you're receiving blood transfusions, often you can develop an immune response and actually reject the blood unless it's closely matched down to antigens. And this gets very scientific and very medical and well beyond my pay grade. But I can tell you that we know that having a closely matched donor from an ethnicity standpoint makes the blood typically more bioavailable and a better match for patients fighting sickle cell disease. And so that's what the Red Cross has been working on across the board for about 2 years, and we have no plans of stopping. Of course, we're collecting blood regularly for accident victims, trauma patients, those undergoing complicated surgeries, mothers having a complicated childbirth, and then of course, platelets and other blood products that are often used to treat cancer patients. And so those who come out to give blood are heroes in my book. They're lifesavers. A single pint of blood can save up to 3 lives, which is absolutely incredible. And if you use our Red Cross Blood Donor app, you actually get to see you often get to see where your blood has gone to what medical center. And there's nothing more satisfying than kind of taking a look at that app when the little notification comes in and says, your blood is on the way to Johns Hopkins or to Anne Arundel Medical Center. It's a very satisfying experience. The other line of service I think that people think of first, often think of first with the Red Cross is our work on the disaster space, disaster response, emergency response. Again, we are doing this with the help of volunteers. It cannot be done without them. They're doing 90% of our work at the Red Cross. And in the disaster space, emergency response, disaster response and relief, we work locally every single day, mostly helping families who have been impacted by a home fire. This is for the family who's lost their home in a fire. It's the same as a Category 5 hurricane coming through, right? It's just not happened to the whole community, but it's happened to that family. And we have volunteers that are trained to go in, provide emotional support, health and mental health support, provide financial assistance, and help to make sure that that family has a safe place to stay with that financial assistance, whether it's used to travel out of state to a relative's house if they can, whether it's used to get a hotel. The fact is that 40% of Americans cannot cover an unexpected expense of $400 or more. So the putting cash in the hands of someone who's experienced a home fire, has no access to their clothing, their belongings, sometimes their medication, no place to sleep, no pillow to lay their head on, that cash goes a long way. And so we're proud to do that locally in Charles County and across the Southern Maryland chapter. Disaster relief also happens away from home. And so that's what you're seeing right now, for instance, in California, with the atmospheric rivers. 12 atmospheric rivers have impacted different parts of California since December. And with that, we have over 100 Red Cross emergency shelters opened in the state of California right now. It's a big response, and it takes more than the resources, the people and supply resources in California to perform that response. And so from our local region here in the DMV area, we actually have about 12 volunteers who have raised their hand to deploy to help out in any one of those 100 plus shelters out in California. So that's part of our disaster work too, is wherever there is a need, our Red Cross regions across the country work together to send resources, including people, to make sure that everybody has a safe place to stay, warm meals to eat, emotional support, and any disaster, mental health, spiritual care if they've lost a loved one or a pet in the emergency, anything they need to feel better in what probably is one of the worst day or weeks of their life. We're also training people in life-saving skills. So training services is what we call our CPR courses, AED courses, first aid courses, babysitting courses. There's many ways to get involved in learning skills that save lives. It's easy to do. You go to redcross.org. You can search for a class. A lot of our classes thanks to the COVID-19 pandemic, are now more online than they were before. So there is just a very short portion that has to be done in person. I know the first time I took a CPR or first aid course, I think it was like 8 hours in a room somewhere in a YMCA. I was probably 16 years old and trying to get a job at the summer pool, summer job, but it's different now. You can do most of the trainings online with a small portion done in person. And these skills save lives. We are presenting awards often to local heroes. We just presented 4 life-saving awards to folks that work in PG County, not too far away from Charles County, because they use their Red Cross learned skills to actually save or sustain a life. And so that's an exciting time when you can see that that training is put to use in a real life situation. You never know when, you never know where that emergency is going to occur, but if you're prepared for it, then you can respond. And that's something the Red Cross is also proud to do in local communities, is teach training services class, life-saving skills that save lives. And then lastly, we're helping out our military families. So the Red Cross actually was born on the battlefield with Clara Barton's commitment to helping wounded soldiers during the Civil War. So over 140 years ago, that's kind of the basis, the roots of our Red Cross mission, is helping out US military members, their families, US military veterans, their families. We have volunteers who work regularly to be the verifier of emergency communications between family members at home and a deployed service member overseas. So if there's a birth, if there's a death, if there's a horrible accident, a family member is ill, and that deployed service member needs to come home, the United States military trusts the Red Cross to verify those messages, that they're legit, that there really is a true emergency. It's not perhaps just the family member missing their loved one. We verify those messages with a third-party communicator in those messages, and we help hundreds upon hundreds upon hundreds service members get reconnected to their families during those emergent times. We're proud of that. We're also teaching resiliency workshops to local military members, their families as well, helping them learn about what a deployment is like before and during the deployment. And we also focus on resiliency workshops for deployed service members that have returned home. One of the most fun parts about our Red Cross Service to the Armed Forces programs is that we have volunteers who also show up with service dogs, often volunteering in places like Joint Base Andrews, Walter Reed Medical Center, and bringing not only a smiling Red Cross volunteer to make someone's day better, but also a Red Cross service dog to say hello and just give that emotional support that's so much needed before or after a medical procedure. So those are basically our lines of service. We do work internationally as well. We support our Red Cross brother and sister societies across the globe. The American Red Cross is part of the International Red Cross and Red Crescent Society. And so what we do is if asked, we will send supplies, resources, sometimes financial assistance, sometimes volunteers. You see that happening in Poland, just outside of Ukraine right now. You see that happening in Turkey after the horrific earthquake. So with that, I'm going to just open things up for questions. We have a few minutes, maybe 5 minutes or so. If you have any questions for me, specifically about how we work in Charles County, we're hosting blood drives. We're training people in skills that save lives. I can share specific numbers with you, whatever you'd like to ask. I see Delegate Harris came on camera, so I'm not sure if that means you have a question. Oh yeah, your hand's up. Okay.
I do. Delegate Harris.
I appreciate it, Madam Chair, and thank you so much for this. This brief is really helpful. I just wanted to share one thing, that the Red Cross service member piece. I actually used that back in 2001, believe it or not, when I was stationed in Hawaii. I had my uncle, who was like a father figure to me, actually passed away. And obviously in the military, they send that particular message over. And so the commanding officer had to be the one to share that information with me. And it was the Red Cross, I ain't have no funds or nothing, very low income during that time period back then. So the Red Cross actually helped me and took care, helped me get back from Hawaii all the way over to North New Jersey and back. And so I did utilize that service. So it's definitely works, and it's definitely worth it as well. And then the other piece is the Red Cross app. Amazing tool. It's the first time I actually heard about that concept. And so I would love more details on that so we can share it with other folks. I think people seeing that their blood is being used in different areas, I think that is amazing. I think that will help boost awareness as well as people giving more. So that's all I wanted to say. Appreciate your time.
We're so glad that we were able to help you back in 2001. That's an incredible story to share and keep telling it, right? Because it reminds folks that the Red Cross is doing more than the blood collection, doing more than the disaster response, and we're there every day helping those military families. So thank you for your service, and thanks for sharing that story. Red Cross has several apps, right? We have the blood donor app, which is easy to use. You can schedule your blood donation appointment. You can track your number of pints and gallons and celebrate your donations. You can see often where your blood has gone to help, to what medical center. We supply blood to over 50 local hospitals in the DC, Maryland, Delaware kind of region. We also have a Red Cross emergency app. And so I encourage you to encourage others, right? People that you're out talking to in the community, to download the Red Cross emergency app. It's free. It's a great resource. You can set alerts. I have family, my mom and dad live in Brunswick, Georgia. They often have tornado watches and warnings down in that area. That you can set alerts for yourself, and I think up to 12 loved ones for different types of storms. And so you can get that extra kind of layer of warning if something is coming your way. You can get safety tips for earthquakes and tornadoes and hurricanes, storms, but you can also locate Red Cross shelters. So if something happens and you're out of your home and you don't know where to go, if you have that Red Cross emergency app, you can click on the map feature and literally see, just like on your GPS on your car or on your phone, where the shelters are, if they're open, how many people are there. So you can even figure out if you want to go to one that's more sparsely populated, if you're concerned, about being around a crowd and that type of thing. So it's very useful. It's free. It's called the Red Cross Emergency app, and you can just search for that on your phone. More information, of course, is at redcross.org about everything we talked about today. I do want to put in a plug that anybody who needs help after a disaster, anyone with disaster cause needs, a home fire, they've been impacted by a flood, a tree has fallen down because of a storm, they just need to call 1-800-RED CROSS. We are standing by ready to help. So that's the simplest, easiest way, 1-800-RED CROSS. You'll be dispatched, the person who calls will be dispatched into the local duty officer, a volunteer usually who is on call to take calls just like that. And then our disaster action team, a group of volunteers, will be out to see them to make sure they have cash in hand to get help and to get a safe place to stay.
All right. Thank you so much, Ashley. Are there any other questions? Hearing none. Thank you so much, and have a great rest of the day.
So happy to be here. Thank you so much. If you need anything, please reach out.
Thank you. Thank you. So you guys, we let Ashley go first because she had to run off, but you have the agenda in front of you, hopefully. And I just have some updates. I guess first and foremost, thank you all for responding to the list, that the voting tally that Sharon brought around to your offices. And I just want to update people who are listening that is it SB 491, the school bus driver task force bill that Senator Jackson put in, that we will be supporting that as a delegation. So I just want to make that clear. And then on the agenda, there are a couple other things. Some of our bills aren't moving. I know that we had the all-terrain vehicle. All-terrain vehicle bill. It was amended because it came out of drafting as a scooter bill or something like that. Anyway, that was amended. The property tax bill was amended to 150. Well, that's what we put it in as in the House, but it was amended to that in the Senate. I think that's it. You will see on your agenda the legislative bond initiative priority list based upon your votes. Are there any questions? This is our last meeting for this session. Kevin, don't leave now. Are there any questions? Lawyer Patterson? No?
No questions. Thank you very much for leading these bills and bond initiatives through.
Thank you so much. We can talk more about the status of the bills later, but a couple of them aren't moving. A couple of them have been in a couple years before. You want to go over them? There are only 5. The one was the notice bill. That hasn't gotten out of committee. We can talk about the specifics, but there is some resistance because it has the government making the notices, and yeah, no one's talked about the specific conditions in Charles, and I think we need to have more discussion about the specific conditions in Charles with our lack of newspapers and that type of stuff. But we're going to have that conversation over the interim. That's one. The Tri-County Council bill. Looks like the speaker's holding. That's number 2. The property tax amendment bill went through the House, is coming over from the Senate. It's already been amended, I believe. I just spoke about the all-terrain vehicle bill. It was supposed to be merged in ENT into another bill, and that bill didn't come out. So that's what happened with that one. And then the 5th one, Sharon, help me out. What's the 5th one? All-terrain vehicles.
TCC?
No,
Golf carts?
golf cart.
Golf cart?
Golf carts is flying through both House and Senate. That's all I have. All right, you guys, we're not gonna, I'll hear a motion to adjourn because we're not gonna belabor it. We've got other things to do.
So move. You've done a great job, Madam Chair.
Oh, thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you so much, you guys. I couldn't do it without your help, so thanks so much. We're signing off.